just to get things rolling up, I'm going to proceed in alphabetical order, and I'm going to start by asking Nick Sortal. Nick, why are you running for mayor of Plantation, and why should voters elect a new mayor?
I started exploring the run for mayor September 11th, 2019. Lynn knows that, or Mayor Stoner knows that. That's when I realized that she raised her car allowance and didn't tell the truth about it. But really the past 3 years, I focused on me and what I can do better. And I went to all the League of Cities trainings, and I went to every training possible. I talked to every department head possible. And what I'm going to bring is leadership and people skills and the ability to listen and the ability to look at everything from many angles and the ability to think of team. I'm going to be the quarterback. I don't need to be the person that has my finger on everything, and I don't need to be the person that makes every call. You don't want me building bridges, for crying out loud. But I'm going to be involved in all that, and I'm going to be the leader in good times and in bad. And it's going to be a continuation of what I've done the last 4 years. The last 4 years, I've been the most responsive council member. I've been the person that when people have questions, they contact me. What about the sidewalk? What about the permit? What about this? And that kind of leadership, I think, will show through. And I think that kind of leadership is what Plantation wants right now.
Okay. Mayor Lynn Stoner, you have the floor. Tell us why voters should keep you in office as mayor.
I've done a great job on issues really important to our community, whether it's crime, being fiscally responsible. I came in and our budget was a mess. Today we are in the best financial shape ever, and that's according to our finance director, so it's not just my perception. But in a manner to do that, we tightened up our contracts. We really looked at the details in the contracts, and that came from my background and working with a new attorney that was specifically there to help us tweak a lot of things. And we've had to use those funds, some of those funds, as we went through COVID. 2 years of a nationwide crisis and pandemic, and navigated our way through that very, very well. We took care of not just our residents, we took care of our staff. Staff felt a little cut off from communication. We fixed that, gave them 3 days off with pay for like a mental health day. Not one person in staff lost any benefits, lost any pay. Everybody was paid during COVID. There were no one that didn't get paid. We didn't lose any employees whatsoever. And we kept moving forward. We lost a little momentum, but the city moved forward. We didn't just wait for things to get better.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's all right. I do want to follow up on something Nick Sortal said in his opening statements. He's accused you of illegally raising the car allowance for yourself without running this through the city commission for a vote of approval. I watched the tape of that commission meeting of September 11th, 2019, and I saw the interchange between you and Commissioner Horland. So was that action legal or illegal?
That was done, if, you know, to get to the short of it, it should have gone through council. But the ultimate result was within 30 days of those conversations, I had completely paid back the city. And since I'd already gotten the money, which was, I came into office in the middle of November, and this was in January. So those were taxable benefits. So when I wrote the check back to the city, I did ask that the funds be put in certain of our funds within the city, like the Parks and Rec and so forth. So that was resolved in less than 90 days. And that the increase was from $350 to $500, which was based on a survey of other cities. And so yes, that is not on the table, totally resolved. And we moved forward. So I'm not sure why he would bring something up that's resolved within 90 days and is way back in history. He's got to,
Okay.
Anyway.
Nick, what's your response?
Well, it's not the money. We would have approved the money right away. It's that we asked her in July, did you give yourself a raise? And you see on the tape there, well, you don't see on the tape, but earlier tapes show, yeah, I didn't give myself a raise. I didn't do it. I kept it at 350. And then when you watch the tape again, she says, I listened to what two respected people told me. And I sent you the memo from Margie and from Horace. They were saying, don't do it. So it's the fact that she lied about it at the start. She lied about it during the 10-minute exchange. And frankly, this is the first time I've ever heard her say it should go through council even. Just the arrogance and the bullying, and it fits a storyline that happens with Lynn in that her status sometimes is ready, fire, aim. And I think in a city with people and with team and with leaders who know the laws better, we're a strong mayor, but we also have a CAO, and that CAO has years and years of experience in city government. So that was a case where there was bullying, and it was just absolutely unacceptable to me. But again, if it were a one-off, it would be one thing, but it's one of several.
Mayor Stoner, you stand accused in this interview of being a bully to your colleagues in Plantation City Hall. What do you say?
I say I'm not a bully, but I have high expectations of and accountability, not only of myself, but staff. There were quite a few members of staff that, sort of came in and did a half day's work for a full day's pay. People needed to understand that we're here for a reason. We're here to serve the public, and we have to do better. And that has happened quite a bit. And people have risen to the marks of what our expectations are, and they've improved themselves. They really you can see that they are proud of how they feel and what they do for the community. So look, there are going to be people, when you have 1,000 employees, not everybody's going to love you, but there's a respect component that I think has grown over the years. And I'm very proud of that.
Okay. I've gotten a look at it's like an employee satisfaction survey that was done of city employees. I've not looked at it exhaustively, but I spent some time with it this morning, Mayor Stoner. It does not paint a very glowing picture of the status of the level of morale. And there are particular questions in there about yourself, about the fact that the city is too top down, the fact that employees are kept in the dark. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Have you seen this employee survey, and what do you think of it?
I was sick to my stomach when I saw it. Absolutely sick to my stomach. So immediately arranged to visit every single department without management so that they could speak freely and know there would be no retribution. The issue became not me, but twofold. One is they wanted to learn a little more about how the salary was really done and that they felt like they should be making more. The other component was them not feeling they got communicated to by their supervisors and they didn't know what was going on. So following that, we did an immediate salary survey and we did institute raises. And then just this past a few months, we did another talking tour, completely different exchange. Still had a couple of the same people thinking that they should be paid more, which, I gave to HR because HR attended with me and said, you have to have a conversation with these folks and make sure they understand what we're doing or we need to change it. So we've been very cognizant of the employee issues. And one of the things they said this time was, please come back. We we now see you as a person, not just as our leader, but we want to hear more from you and have you tell us what's going on in the city, which I was very flattered by. So
if you're a hands-on mayor and you've got a really firm grip on the state of affairs in your community, why would the results of this survey make you sick to your stomach?
Well, I did inherit, as any other mayor or elected official would. I haven't looked at it in some time, but there were a couple comments that was like, I didn't do that. Where are they getting this information? And that was the hard part for me and why I wanted to talk to folks. They had some perceptions that I was doing things that I wasn't, which HR confirmed, that some of their directions were coming from me versus their supervisors. So it's not just a one-person thing. It's everybody. It's every director. It's trying to point out the good things that we're doing in the city and how far we've come. I mean, we've just done amazing things. So, you know, you have to have and have to respect the staff because they're doing, you know, the work.
Right.
And yeah.
Okay.
So
do you have any concerns, or is there any reason why the Sun Sentinel shouldn't publicize the results of that survey to our readers and to the people voting in this election?
I don't think it's relevant, but you guys can do what you want.
Why is it not relevant?
We're in a good place. Why dig up stuff from a few years ago? We're moving forward, and I don't, you know, I don't have a conversation with somebody and bring up something they did 5 years ago. It's over. It's past. We've moved on. Do I learn from those things? Absolutely. Every time.
Okay.
I learn.
Let me just ask, Commissioner Nick Sortal.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nick.
I have 4 comments about what she said. First off, she never took a minute to reflect and say, I got to do better. My bad. It's on me. Okay. We never got that inside of City Hall. Number 2, about the bullying. Yeah, there was bullying right here. 12/14/2020 resignation letter from our procurement director. I've been targeted, singled out, bullied, intimidated, threatened, and can no longer work under these stressful, unfair conditions. Agreed, it is one person, but I have a lot of these. The idea that directors are not communicating, and she is refuted in question number 4. Do you find the following leaders approachable? Supervisor, 87%. Director, 65%. Mayor, 26%. The people find the mayor not approachable. So that also addresses the idea that there was confusion about pay. There was not confusion about pay when she says, oh, people were upset about me and they gave me a bad rating because of pay. If they gave her a bad rating because of pay, her score on approachable number 4 here would not be 26%. Sorry, I'm a little ticked off when that stuff gets twisted.
Nick, you cite this one example, and you've cited this one example before, and you say you have a lot more, but I haven't seen any others.
Did you read the survey? You got to read the survey.
No, I'm talking about the one, the CAO resignation that you brought up.
No, this wasn't the CAO. This was procurement.
Procurement, right? Sorry.
This was another one. I've never sent you this. This has never been released anywhere because as a favor to procurement, I didn't want to put the guy on the line because he wants
the wording. The wording sounded similar to the one you've talked about previously.
I don't refresh me on which one I've talked about. I prefer not to talk about this in respect to Lynn because Lynn has done some good things. Mayor Stoner's done some good things. Nobody's all bad or all good, but I believe this disqualifies her. So there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about that also is reflective of what affects the city. So I don't want to be just the guy that's smacking Lynn over this when I really want to do good for the city, and I got a lot of good stuff I want to do. But it's your interview.
Well, the question is, as you've gone door to door, you've trashed me along the way, but you haven't told anybody what you really want to do for the city or what you think you can do better.
Go ahead, Nick.
Okay, I was waiting for the question to come through you rather than.
Oh, that's okay. Sure.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I have a list of things I want to do. I've kept a list for 3 years of everything big and small that I want to do. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to planning and zoning and saying the days of just banging apartments through is over. If you look at we can go into that deeper, but obviously development is number one on people's minds. And if I'm going to be responsive to residents, then we're going to hit the brakes on building until we get things together. Number two is I am going to go to building safety. I'm going to change the name from building to building safety to better reflect to the residents what our building department's about. It's keeping buildings safe for residents. And we're going to get info on the front end. People are scared to go into building, and they're scared in a lot of places. If I'm the leader and if I'm the building directing leader, we're going to do videos. We're going to put it together so people walk in comfortable. Number three, obviously, I'm going to increase outreach. I'm going to set up office hours, 4 to 6 p.m. Wednesday, 10 minutes on Zoom, talk to the mayor, get the public. Also, I will have lunch every Friday with employees, just a brown bag, bring your lunch, tell me what's on your mind, no notes. And the other thing, of course, is I'm going to publish whenever we have committees, right? Sustainability, Education Advisory Board, Planning and Zoning, all that. Whenever there's a meeting, the next day, I want to have what we did, what we're going to do, what's next, so the public knows what we're doing at all these committee meetings. I can keep going if you want, but that's my top layer.
I do have one follow-up question for you, Nick, and that is this, and I want to talk about this too as well. The idea of declaring a housing emergency in the city, similar to what Lake Worth Beach has done, which would cap rent increases, but which is, I think it's fair to say, could be very controversial in some areas. But if I heard you correctly, you're not in favor of adding more rental properties in Plantation, and we've just seen a survey where something like 94% of the people in Broward County can't afford to buy a median-priced home. A rental apartment is many people's only avenue for safe housing. So aren't you making the housing situation worse by opposing more rental property?
Right. So how do we reconcile both things? People are worried about growth and development, and people are also worried about affordable housing. So how do we do that? It is not just a Plantation problem, as you all know. The county has taken the lead very well. Nan Rich is a pro at this. Steve Geller brought ideas to us that are great about putting affordable housing near transportation. So we're going to take a step back. Obviously, we're going to keep growing, but the idea of apartments, so many at this time, the residents are just demoralized. I mean, it's 100% when I visit people that they're demoralized about building and growth. So yeah, I got to find a way. We got to work that out. I'm going to look for the county and take best practices from all the cities and work it together. It ain't just going to be, here's how we do it in Plantation. I got the idea, it's going to work. Because when it comes to this, I'm not the smartest guy. But let's get people all together.
A very quick follow-up question. Can you cite a project, a complex that was built in Plantation that you opposed that should not have been built?
Okay, the last 3 projects that have come up, we have either delayed, denied, or decreased. We voted down 8601, which was the AT&T property. We got the school board property across from Ramat Shalom. That was going to be townhomes at 110, 120. Lynn will know the number. We got that down to 36, 37. And then we delayed Reflections in Plantation Acres. They wanted 27 homes on 11 acres. We are now looking at that as part of our comp plan and part of our flex units, and we're just taking a step back on that.
Okay, Dan, I want to get to you. But I do think it's fair to give Mayor Stoner a chance to respond.
Yes.
To what Nick has just said, especially the point, Mayor Stoner, especially the point that we heard from Nick Sortal, that residents in Plantation are, quote, demoralized over the pace of and the level of overdevelopment.
So we have what we call Midtown, which is between University and Pine Island. Southern boundary is 595. North boundary is Sunrise. Initially, the north boundary was Cleary Boulevard, and it's been extended up to Sunrise, which is where this 8601 development is. I can tell you I've gone through every single meeting since he came on board. And with the exception of these 3 projects, he has voted for every single project. Now, 8601 was an old AT&T building, which you couldn't see from the road. And quite frankly, I've lived here for 52 years, and I never recall seeing the building until we started really taking a look at it. The school board property he talks about is at the corner of Nob Hill and Broward. And in fact, it was approved, and including Mr. Sortal. And as far as reflections in the acres, that project has never come to council. There is quite a bit of community outrage over that parcel that was going to be have a new site plan with homes in the $800,000 range, and people in the acres were upset. But the Midtown component and concept was created in the mid-'80s. And so it's not a new concept. It's 25 units to the acre. And in fact, if you look at our citywide map, you will see exactly that it is within that Midtown component. What's interesting is, as high as the rents are, those buildings are 95% full within the first 30 days. There are people that want those. They want to be part of the community. They have their kids in the school. They have the kids in our PAL rec program. They participate. They go to our restaurants, which we're trying to, add a few more. And we are the center of the county. People want to come to the Plantation. So we always have people coming in trying to tell us what they'd like at the Broward Mall. I am not putting a 13-story apartment building there. But as Mr. Sortal says, we aren't the only one, but we are still looking at affordable components and how we bring them in and where, because we're basically built out and we're dealing with infill.
Right.
So
Okay.
there's a whole thought process and the domino effect. So we put this here, what happens here, and Commissioner State Senator Geller, was he a state senator? Yes. Has some great points, and now I'm trying to look at other areas that are underutilized that we could maybe use for more or our own,
Sure.
affordable housing. So anyway.
All right. Let me open the floor to Dan Sweeney. Dan's been very patient here.
Pardon me?
My colleague Dan Sweeney has questions, and I want to recognize him.
Can I have like a 30-second touch?
Dan,
Please?
your call.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. My
Okay,
follow-up is for Nick anyway.
That was a good answer by Lynn and Mayor Stoner, and the things Mayor Stoner said, most of those were true. Lynn is good at building things. I do feel like, and the residents feel like, that sometimes this stuff gets snuck past them. And so when I'm mayor, I'm going to be upfront. Here's what I'm building. Here's what we're going to try to do. Let's work on it together. As far as voting record, real quick, I voted for one. I voted for two. I voted for the Stiles project because I didn't want Temple Colomie to close. And I voted for Arkham Apartments, 8 units on Peters. I voted two things about 350 apartments. I looked through Lynn's record, and Lynn has, when she had a vote, voted for 3,974 apartments. I have the record here. Be happy to share it with you. Lynn has voted for 10 times as many apartments as me when it comes to that. But that said, I think she's pretty good at building stuff. And that's not a shot. I think she gets stuff done like that. And if you want to grow Midtown like that, Lynn has been a positive.
Okay. Go ahead, Dan.
I'm still a little confused about how exactly you develop affordable housing without developing more apartments. But more than that, I've heard before from a lot of people in a lot of different cities about how, when I'm elected, we're putting the kibosh on all these new apartments and everything. Is that really feasible without just getting sued by developers?
No, it's not feasible. It's an unrealistic comment, and it's unfair to have the public think that you can, in fact, do that. There's a process for presenting a project, any project. You all know that. And if they get to a certain point and they have met everything and it's approved by everything up to P&Z and then on to council, yes, we are open to a lawsuit. That's why, people don't understand that there really is a huge, long process. Most people take almost 2 years by submitting, sitting down with DRC to review the project before it ever gets to council. And then when they finally get approved, once the permits are issued, you have another 2 years to build out. So people don't understand, and this was one of the conversations I had with the building department staff and planning and zoning. I need you to understand the other side of your desk. When they come in and they start the process, they have their own money, their own cash injection into this project before any approvals or anything. They don't get any money for construction loan until they are actually under construction. So timing is huge. Just because you think you don't want to do this today and it sits on your desk for 3 weeks doesn't help them. I need you to understand both sides of the table. And as a result, I think that our building department has really embraced knowing the process, because these are smart people, but they don't necessarily know what's on the other side. And then when you start to explain it, they get it.
I understand that, but I'd like to hear an answer from Nick too, because he's the one saying no new apartment buildings. So
right.
Nick,
No.
how do you square that circle between
No. Let's clean
no
that
new
up.
apartment buildings and respecting private property rights of the developers that own this land?
Correct. Let's clean that up, Dan. It's not no new apartments. It's putting the brakes on apartments. People are still going to want to build apartments. This is America. Developers can still bring projects to us, make proposals. We don't necessarily have to reward the extra waivers they want. So we can tighten them up on some things by waivers and everything. Sure, if somebody sees a space and they come to us and legally, and this is where I'm going to refer to staff on, rather than saying, I know the law on this, I'm going to take that to the attorney. I'm going to take that to our city manager. I'm going to take it to our building director and to P&Z and make sure we are within the law. But overall, what's happened right now is a culture inside planning and zoning of just banging apartments. Let's push this through. I want this. I want this. Dan Holmes, our planning and zoning director, literally had a heart attack over stress and the culture and the fact that they're trying to bang so many things through P&Z. I'm going to say, Danny, you're a pro, do your job. One other point is, again, I'm just going to be upfront about it. There will be times where I will want something the public doesn't want, but right now the public feels this is all getting sneaked past them. I'm going to look you right in the eye and say, guys, here's what I want to do. Here's the plans. Let's talk about it. You may or may not like it, but I'm going to be upfront. Here's what we're trying to do.
Is waivers for certain building or zoning requirements the norm right now? Is that how apartments are getting built in Plantation?
To make them profitable enough, sometimes we have to give them a little more room, a little more size. Sometimes they aren't going to wait. Now, other times, though, waivers were necessary. At 8601, we tried, the administration did try to add affordable housing. That was our first attempt at affordable housing. And, the incentives make it hard. If you want, I think, one affordable housing unit, you're allowed 6 bonus units. So that's going to grow quickly. And that's how that's the thing the public doesn't understand about affordable housing. And they think it's really developer driven, but I don't have a problem with that. I think those are the standard, usual and prevailing standards, is if you have one affordable housing unit, you're allowed bonus units and bonus density.
Right.
That's part of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be put the brakes on development. Am I going to say absolutely no new apartments? Nobody in their right mind is going to say that. So, and if I presented it that way, that's on me.
But you did say it.
Did I say no new apartments or put the brakes on? And we're just parsing words here.
So it's semantic.
Never say no new apartments.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I never.
I hear the distinction that he's making. So
Yes.
Go ahead, Dan. No, you okay?
All right.
As people may know, I'll just refresh it. Plantation's one of the few cities in Broward County, I believe one of only 2, with a strong mayor form of government. There is no city. Beg your pardon?
Lighthouse Point.
Right, Lighthouse Point. You're certainly the only sizable city with this form of government. The mayor hires city department heads. Nick Sortal, if you're elected mayor of Plantation, are there department heads you will replace?
There will be not immediately. Are there a couple department heads that I would like to talk to and remediate and see if some behaviors could change? Yes. So first, it's inefficient to fire an employee right away. I would rather them fix and be compliant and do ABC, which I want done.
Is there a particular department you could cite that Mayor Stoner has not administered very well where changes are needed?
Yes.
Tell us.
HR department had a problem. The OIG, in fact, outed them in April. I don't think you all wrote about it. I think we sent it right here at April 15th, OIG. If you want to send it to you, I'll send it to you. They had a problem with public records laws when a staff member displayed applicant paperwork. They were supposed to do training after. Lynn, I don't know if you did the training or not. We don't, as a council, we didn't know. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. That's your question. You can ask for Lynn. But HR's had several problems. They've had incidents where things have happened regarding employees, and they have not talked regarding people in the city, and they haven't talked to everybody. And as the leader, that's my job as the mayor, to tell HR, hey, talk to everybody, do a complete job, and run that through. That's what a leader would do. Say, hey, you need to dial this up a little bit more and be more complete.
Okay. Lynn Stoner, are there problems in the HR department at City Hall?
That was a unique problem, and Commissioner, I never received any correspondence or emails from the OIG regarding those. This was a potential employee that came in and gave her original docs, and then came back a month later and wanted her stuff, which at that point had not been kept because she was not pursued as a potential candidate. So including the incident with Councilmember Sortal, the conversations were always, we need to get our attorney on the phone and be sure that we're following correct protocol. Because, listen, I've worked for and with and, all kind of stuff with attorneys for the last 40 years. I'm very much a CYA, and that includes our files. We don't think it's important, but that doesn't mean it's not important, and we need to confirm with our city attorney. And I'm very, very cognizant of the potential exposure in any of our routes. We work on our sidewalks. We have crews round the clock working on sidewalks. But tripping on a sidewalk is the biggest claim we get in the city all the time, or consistent claim, I should say. So there are always things that have to be done. That's perpetual maintenance of everything. Yep.
Sure. Okay. Understood. Thank you very much. Mayor, I've got a follow-up question for you. Nick Sortal brought up the Office of Inspector General. Widely reported at the time, the Inspector General concluded in November of 2020 that you violated campaign finance laws and the open government laws in a report that is online, easily accessible. Should the voters of Plantation, be reminded and be refreshed about what that Inspector General report found about you before they vote in this election?
Well, certainly, I don't think so. I know that within that letter, it says I can't really comment about the ongoing investigation. I know that for a while with COVID up in Tallahassee and the Elections Commission, nobody was meeting and discussing anything. So I understand they're coming back in session, and I've got my fingers crossed that'll resolve itself. As to the state attorney's piece of this, my understanding is it's in a back office with a lot of other files that they don't think are particularly important to take over their existing high priority files. So an example is Angelo Castillo. They've just, come to a conclusion 4 years after he left office. So I think if people look and realize all of the positive things we have done, I mean, I have to tell you, in compiling the items and what we've done, I was actually in shock myself, because we go at 100 miles an hour and we do really good things, but people forget and they don't see it unless it specifically benefits them. So,
okay, just one small point of clarification. You said you really can't comment on an ongoing investigation. This matter this is still an open investigation, to your knowledge?
Yeah. Well, from what I hear, and again, the file truly is in a pile in a room down there that they don't have time to even look at and dispose of. And that's a complaint for many of us that have, incurred the OIG's comments. I don't think he particularly understands what a strong mayor's allowed to do and this and that and the other, but that's his opinion, and I'm not going to, get into it unless the state attorney asks me about it.
Okay.
So
let me give Nick Sortal an opportunity to comment again. The question, Nick, was, what should the voters of Plantation bear in mind from this report when they go to vote?
First off, I'm the better candidate whether that report gets released to the public or not. I'm the person with leadership. I work with people. I work hard. I am self-reflective. I admit when I'm wrong. I'm secure. I can take criticism. I do question when she says her understanding is that this file is at the back room somewhere, because the state attorney public corruption unit is notoriously silent. They are a silo that talks to nobody. So how you can know that that's in a back room somewhere, I kind of challenge that. Also, just for the record, Mayor Stoner declined to be interviewed by OIG. And so OIG has really not heard from her. Small mayor or strong mayor, you can't lie about spending on your campaign and then cook the books and go backwards, as she did. That's just something. She won by 140 votes. I could see the governor, polling her like he did with the school board people. She won by a narrow margin and overspent and cooked the books to get there. All that said, it's up to the public whether that stuff matters or not. Again, they're demoralized by apartments. That's what they're going to say more than anything. If a person says something or does something, there's a little bit of flexibility there. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I want to clear the air about something right here. And Dan Sweeney and I have not discussed this, and I'm using my discretion as the opinions editor of this newspaper. This is an unusual situation, this race, because one of the candidates, Nick Sortal, is a former employee of the Sun Sentinel. And I'll just, a reporter for many years, right, Nick? A community news reporter and editor.
30 years, yes, sir.
30 years. And I'll just state for the record, I joined the Sun Sentinel in late 2018. I don't know Nick Sortal very well. We never worked together. The whole time he was at the Sun Sentinel, I was either at the Herald or the Tampa Bay Times. Of course, we know each other professionally. All journalists know each other sort of indirectly, right, Nick? But yes. I don't.
You worked for the Herald, so I used to hate you.
Exactly. Same thing. The rivalry between the Herald and the Sun Sentinel was legendary in the 80s and 90s in Broward County. We both were a big part of that. But I do want to ask, in all fairness and all sincerity, Mayor Stoner, whether you feel as though the Sun Sentinel can objectively and fairly balance your candidacy and Nick Sortal's, notwithstanding the fact that he used to work for the Sun Sentinel.
It's a good question. And I've given it a lot of thought. And there are days that I thought, I'm not doing this interview. It's going to be slanted. And there are days that I thought, absolutely, get up and say what you've done. And I don't, but I want to be careful what I say in this interview, because Nick has made a point of telling everybody repeatedly that when he gets angry, he hits back twice as hard. And
no.
there are many qualities that Nick has, but he doesn't even remotely have the qualities of to run a city consistently. You know, he has good days and bad days on personality. He tells people on the side, I've tweaked my medication, I'm feeling better. You need someone that's consistent in this position and that really understands and has the foundation of how a business and a city like this runs. And I don't, and quite frankly, if you look at his financial reports, he doesn't have a lot of support throughout the community, which I feel bad about because I had indicated to him, you really need a little time to change your persona. But that didn't happen, and we got to hear some of his rhetoric, which has completely offended the female community. And I just feel bad about it, quite frankly, because it puts a black eye on the city that shouldn't be there.
Oh, okay. I want to ask about those comments, but Nick, those were quite personal comments about you directly, so I want to give you a chance to respond, especially this comment, I pushed my medications and I'm feeling better.
Tweaked his medications and feels better.
Oh, okay, tweaked, I'm sorry.
That's something I commonly say to people as just a self-effacing moment. I talk to people, I like to make people feel more comfortable, and you know, I would never say that I don't think I said it from the dais. I might have said I forgot my Prevagen one time, just as a self-effacing moment, saying, look, I forgot, I messed up. I'm human and I'm going to say human things. And I think that's one reason why people relate to me. Just to correct a couple things on financials. Yeah, she's got more cash than me. I think she has 32 $1,000 donors, but only 16 plantation donors, and I have 14. I have 34 plantation donors. I have twice as many. You can look at the record. 16 people actually live in the city have given Lynn money, and 34 have given me money. So if you can go by that. But dollar figures, yeah, the going up against an incumbent is harder than I expected in terms of people will send money to the incumbent. But I knew that's part of the deal, and I'll adjust. I'll just work harder.
Yeah, Nick, I want to ask you to, and these have been reported. This is a story from back in earlier this year, maybe thinking maybe February, January. No, I'm sorry, from June. Lisa Hurryash's stories from June of this year. You were accused of making very inappropriate sexual and racial comments to a city employee.
Yes. Yes. First, yeah. Look, if you look at it over the whole 4-year term of what I do, yeah, I did it. Yeah, I was wrong. It was a situation. My wife was upset, and we were in the room, and me, my wife, and the employee who we've known for 4 years, and talked about many things like grandchildren and everything. And I wanted to calm my wife down. I made a joke in front of an employee I was familiar with. I can't do that. You can't even. You have to understand there's a line between council member and employee. I will do that better. That's not going to happen again. The race part did not happen.
I see. Okay, Mayor Stoner, what is your comment about the widely reported comments that Nick Sortal made?
Look, I don't care how familiar you are with people, make that kind of comment in front of a friend, let alone come into City Hall and say that kind of stuff. And I'm the only one out of all of the council members that commented, and then I commented to Lisa, that I was more than a little upset and disappointed, but I wasn't surprised, because that side of his persona shows up all the time to other employees and directors, including myself, and you just can't do that. And what you get is, oh, my bad, sorry. And his apology was, if I offended anyone.
No.
if
Nope.
it's not an appropriate,
Hold on.
well, I can find it for you, but I'm speaking now, so if you will let me finish.
Tell the truth.
I think that you should look in the mirror and tell yourself that, Nick. You're just all over the place, and I am not going to make this personal. So I'd rather move on to talking about the good things we're doing in the city, what we need to do in the city, and not focus on what his perception is on the outside of what needs to be changed. Because so far, P&Z, development breaks, building safety videos, outreach, lunch every Friday. He's basically acting like a reporter. And this isn't what happens in City Hall. And so I think he has a distorted vision about what really goes on in City Hall and what we do every single day. I mean, I've got papers here all over my desk with statistics and facts and projects we're working on and good stuff we're doing. And quite frankly, we've got a momentum going, especially since COVID, and I want to move it forward. I want to move it.
Okay. I just want to keep things moving. With the clock is starting to be a factor here.
Yeah.
Let me recognize Dan Sweeney. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, look, just to be clear, you had a complaint against you, Nick, that went through human resources. And when Steve Bosquet asked earlier if there were any departments whose heads needed talking to or replacing, the one you brought up was human resources. Are those two things in any way tied to each other?
Yes. There were three people in the room when I talked, when it was me, my wife, and the employee. HR talked to one of them. HR talked to the employee. They did not talk to me. They did not talk to the other person in the room. If I'm mayor and I see a report that says, here's an accusation, if I'm the leader of HR, I said, hey, HR, talk to all three. And if I'm the mayor, I'm not the only one who pulls a public records request and releases it to a blogger. Here's the public record. I'll happily send it to you. Only one person before the article ran by the blogger pulled the record, and it was emailed to lynnstoner@aol.com. So hitting me for public gain and trying to get mileage out of something I said, I get that. But getting an employee's name in the newspaper, she quit that day for political gain. That ain't right. And so back to HR, I think HR is either following orders, which is correctable, or not doing the work, which is not correctable. So that's why I would say, I would sit with HR and say, yo, this is not right. And I would rather the employee has done some good things. I would rather the employee, the HR director, see if this is correctable.
All right. Steve, yeah, I'm done here, and we have a 10 a.m. interview as well. But if you have anything else,
Yeah, I do want to ask each candidate for a 1 minute statement on something that has come up just tangentially here this morning. And if we get back to housing, one of the incredibly persistent, intractable problems in this community and in the whole state. But I'm going to begin with you, Mayor Stoner. Please try to keep your comments to about a minute. Nick Sortal is on record in our questionnaire as favoring declaring a housing emergency in the city of Plantation, as happened in Lake Worth and I think in the city of Hialeah, I believe, which would cap rents. Landlords could not raise rent more than 10%. And you indicated an opposition to a housing emergency. So why are you right and why is Nick Sortal wrong on this issue?
Well, the county has addressed the landlord-tenant issue of rent increases, and I think they've done a good job. They are also going back to review it again. The part of that that's difficult is what came from the county basically says that the municipalities have to enforce. Well, how do we enforce? That's really a civil issue. So now all of a sudden all my police and my code people are serving as process servers. mediators, psychologists, and trying to fix stuff. So on that component, I'm not sure, and it's not that I'm not sure. I don't believe that's the correct route to go.
Okay.
But yeah.
Oh, very good. I'm sorry for the time crunch. Go ahead, Nick Sortal.
Fine.
Same question.
Okay. A couple of quick things. Because I'm an extrovert and I want to know everything, I visited Broward Housing Solutions. Are you familiar with them? Yes or no, guys? It's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so that's one other way of looking at growing affordable housing and helping. Clearly, it's only people with mental health needs and those kind of things, but that's a lot of the very bottom of that. The other idea, of course, is along 441 and Peters Road, there's more area to look at where housing could be built. Again, we got to time it with county, we got to time it with transportation and all that. Did I answer your question, Steve, or not?
Yes, you did. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Appreciate that. I wish we had more time. A couple of your council candidates are right behind you, so and more to follow. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Mayor Stoner. Thanks for joining us. Nick Sortal, best of luck. Take care.
Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all.